Good morning, students. Today we will study classification of crystalline solids. In section 1.2, we have learnt about amorphous substances like rubber, etc. And that they have only short range order. However, most of solid substances are crystalline in nature. For example, all the metallic elements like iron, copper and silver, non-metallic elements like sulfur, phosphorus and iodine, and compounds like sodium chloride, zinc sulfide and naphthalene form crystalline solids. These are our examples of crystalline solids. So all metals, non-metals and compounds that are formed by combination of two sodium and chloride ion. Crystalline solids can be classified in various ways. The method depends on the purpose in hand. Here we will classify crystalline solids on the basis of nature of intermolecular forces or bonds that hold the constituent particles together. These are first van der Waals forces, second ionic bonds, third covalent bonds and fourth metallic bonds. On this basis, crystalline solids are classified into four categories. For example, molecular, ionic, metallic and covalent solids. Let us now learn about these categories. First is molecular solids. Molecules are the constituent particles. These crystals are formed, there are so many molecules in this crystal. Molecules are the constituent particles of the molecular solids. These are further subdivided into the following categories. First, non-polar molecular solids. They comprise either atoms, for example, argon and helium, are the molecules formed by the non-polar covalent bonds. For example, H2, Cl2 and I2. These are gases: hydrogen gas, chlorine gas and iodine gas. In these solids, the atoms or molecules are held by weak dispersion forces or London forces. The forces between molecules of this type of solids like hydrogen gas, chlorine gas and iodine gas, they are very weak and they are known as London forces, about which you have learnt in 11th class. These solids are soft and non-conductors of electricity. They have low melting points and are usually in liquid or gaseous state at room temperature and pressure. So, at very low temperature they melts. Second, polar molecular solids. The molecules of substances like HCl, SO2, etc. are formed by polar covalent bonds. The molecules in such solids are held together by relatively stronger dipole-dipole interaction. Intermolecular forces are more stronger than non-polar molecules. These solids are soft and non-conductors of electricity. Their melting points are higher than those of non-polar molecular solids. Yet most of these are gases or liquids under room temperature and pressure. solid SO2. SO2 means sulfur dioxide gas in solid form, and solid NH3 means ammonia gas are some examples of such solids. Next, third, hydrogen bonded molecular solids. The molecules of such solids contain polar covalent bonds between H and F, O, R, N atoms. Strong hydrogen bonding binds molecules of such solids like H2O, that means ordinary water or ice. They are non-conductors of electricity. All the three types of molecular solids, they are non-conductors of electricity. Generally, they are volatile liquids. That means they change from solid to gaseous state. Are soft solids under room temperature and pressure. Next, second, ionic salts, ionic solids. Ions are the constituent particles of the ionic solids. Such solids are formed by the three-dimensional arrangement of cations and anions. Like NaCl is made up of Na plus ion and Cl minus ion. Arrangement of cations and anions bound by strong Coulombic electrostatic forces. These solids are hard and brittle in nature. We can break them easily. They have high melting and boiling points. Since the ions are not free to move about, they are electrical insulators in the solid state. When they are in the solid state, no free electrons are there. That means they are insulators of electricity. That means we cannot pass electricity in these solids. However, in the molten state or when dissolved in water, the ions become free to move about. Ions become free to move about and they conduct electricity. That means when we dissolve these type of ionic salts in water, they are good conductors of electricity because of free electrons. When electrons are moving in solution, that means they can pass electricity. Next, metallic solids. Metals are orderly collection of positive ions surrounded by and held together by a sea of free electrons. What are metals? Metals are ordered collection of positive ions. Suppose there is one positive ion, then this ion is surrounded by and held together by a sea of free electrons. So many free electrons are attached with this positive ion. These electrons are mobile and are evenly spread out throughout the crystal. These electrons, so many electrons are mobile. That means they can move freely and are evenly spread out throughout the crystal. Each metal atom contributes one or more electrons towards this sea of mobile electrons. Each electron atom, they are contributing electron to this sea of electron. They contributes one or more electrons towards this sea of mobile electrons. That means they are free electrons. These free and mobile electrons are responsible for high electrical and thermal conductivity of metals. That's why metals are good conductors of electricity like copper. When an electric field is applied, these electrons flow through the network of positive ions. Similarly, when heat is supplied to one portion of the metal, the thermal energy is uniformly spread throughout by free electrons. They are good conductors of electricity and heat. Another important characteristics of metal is their luster. That means we can hammer them and convert into a sheet. And another important characteristic of metal is luster and color in certain cases. They have very nice color or very good color. This is also due to the presence of free electrons in them. Metals are highly malleable. They are very soft and ductile. That means we can hammer and can convert into a sheet. Next is covalent or network solids. A wide variety of crystalline solids of non-metals result from the formation of covalent bonds. Covalent bonds are present generally between two carbon atoms, between two carbons. Between a wide variety of crystalline solids of non-metals results from the formation of covalent bonds between adjacent atoms throughout the crystal. They are also called giant molecules. Covalent bonds are strong and directional in nature. Therefore, atoms are held very strongly at their positions. They are very hard. Such solids are very hard and brittle. They have extremely high melting points and may even decompose before melting. They decompose into their parts. They are insulators and do not conduct electricity like diamond. They are very hard and they are not conductors of electricity. Diamond in figure 1.3 and silicon carbide are typical examples of such solids. Although graphite figure 1.4 also belongs to this class of crystals, but it is soft and is conductor of electricity. Its exceptional properties are due to its typical structure. Carbon atoms are arranged in different layers and each atom is covalently bonded to three of its neighboring atoms. Valency of carbon is 4 and this carbon atom is attached with three other atoms. One electron is free to move. Like, see, this carbon atom. This is bonded with this first, second and third. One electron is free to move. So, this structure of graphite, that means graphite is good conductor of electricity due to one free electron in this structure. Its typical structure. Carbon atoms are arranged in different layers and each atom is covalently bonded to three of its neighboring atoms in the same layer. The fourth valency electron of each atom is present between different layers and is free to move about. These free electrons make graphite a good conductor of electricity. Different layers can slide one over the other. 3 layers of this. This makes graphite a soft solid and a good solid lubricant. Okay, thank you.